Welcome, Lunaria. I'm very thrilled and excited to be talking to you. I was really looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for reaching out. It's a hoot to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome. And like we were starting to talk that it's your morning, my evening. So tell us a little more. Where are you?
Yeah, look, I'm in a place called Surf Beach, and it is as beautiful as what that might sound. I live right on the water. It's 4 hours south of Sydney in Australia. So for those of you who geographically wouldn't necessarily know where I am, that's a roundabout.
Sounds amazing and beautiful. And I think I saw
It is.
on your Instagram that you do surfing yourself.
Well, look, that is something I don't know if I could exclusively say that yet, Baber. I think surfing is one of those things. It's a skill that I am putting energy into developing. Let's put it that way. That's a very political answer to give you there. I've been out on a surfboard less than 5 times, but I am doing lots of other things to lead me to a point where I can surf more and more. It's winter at the moment too, so it's a little bit prohibitive, but building the muscle up to get on that surfboard is something that it's a big challenge in me that I cannot wait to get stuck into more and more.
I love that. I love your honesty. And what prompted you to explore this and want to take it up?
Oh, and I think this is so relevant to your audience too, listening here. You know how we all have things that we think we'd really like to do in our lives. I wish that I could do that when you've seen someone else do it, and
Mhm.
that part of you kind of like contracts a little bit. It's like there's a longing that happens. For a very long time, whenever I've seen people surfing, it's felt unattainable for me. I grew up in a big body. I grew up in a body that has been overweight and out of shape, and that's been since I was a child, effectively. So a sport like surfing felt so out of reach for me. And
Mm.
over my life of learning how to love myself, over my life of hating myself first, then learning how to love myself, and then over the years getting in more and more shape, getting into a state where I really love and honor my body and treat it really, really well. That gap between where I want to be, i.e., this dream of maybe, oh, look, I don't want to be a professional surfer. My gosh, I'm 40, like, but it's overcoming the limit. The reason why surfing feels like something that's so important for me to do is because I've had such a limit around that kind of thing that it would be that's what other people get to do in other bodies,
Mm.
not someone like me. So there's something really powerful about me going down this path of surfing because is that overcoming of the conditioning, and it's following that part inside of me that says, I really wish I could.
Mm.
And being patient enough, baby, to recognize that it may not happen overnight. I took my first surf lesson 15 years ago and then didn't touch a surfboard again. And then again, a couple of years ago, I took another surf lesson and realized how out of shape I was. And so I've been doing lots of other things in the background to build towards that goal. And I think that that's really fitting for the audience when we talk about any part of our life, because there's going to be goals that we have. There's things that are longing in our hearts that we want to move towards that perhaps we're scared to, or perhaps we're not skilled yet to do. And we need to just keep taking the actions moving forward and maybe overcome that belief that says, I can't.
So it sounds like a deeply personal, obviously, journey and endeavor. So how can like the listeners, right? Many people have that longing for something, and kind of we get caught up in life in the day to day.
Mm.
How can we or each one of us can find what is our surfboard?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. What's the surfboard? And look, as I said, I don't want to be a professional surfer. It's not something that I'm pursuing from a financial perspective or a career perspective. But I think when we're really quiet, we know deep down there is a part of us that exactly that experience. Maybe you see someone dancing on stage and it might move you to tears. You might get choked up about it. You might have an experience whereby you see someone do it and you think to yourself, oh, I wish, all right, I would love to do that. I think, baby, that we are curious about things naturally.
Mhm.
but not curious about everything. I'm a try anything twice kind of girl. I think, go give things a go. But there are things that you are naturally drawn to, things that you are naturally curious about, things that you have always had an interest in of some way, shape, or form that perhaps the world or your life or society has kind of squashed in you.
Mhm.
They're the things, they're the whispers. They're the
Mhm.
whispers of your heart that are sort of saying, hey, maybe go check that out. It's not going to be everything. For some people, they couldn't care less about thinking about surfing.
Mhm.
And for me, like I'd have really zero interest in uh, learning how to do floristry. It doesn't draw me in. It's not something that I've always been fascinated about or
Mhm.
something that I've longed for. But there is for each of us.
Mhm.
And I just want to speak another layer deep to that, if I may.
Mhm.
For many people in the work that I do, I help people to be their most authentic true selves. To overcome their own conditioning and to move beyond who they think they should be so they can find who they are. Very often people don't know who they are. Very often they have had their dreams or their whispers of their heart been squashed for so long that they can't tap into that. And so I'd love to speak to those people who are listening right now who go, I don't even have that. I want
Right.
you to pause. I want you to stop and start trying some things. Like quite literally. Like pull up the local courses in your area and see if any of them spark any amount of interest. And if it does, go do it. And you might find out that you don't like photography in that course that you do, but you've given it a go. And then that might lead you to a conversation you have with someone about pottery. So you go try pottery. And then that you meet somebody in that conversation that is really interested in CrossFit. And so you maybe go down the CrossFit path.
Mhm.
The key to really understanding what your passion and purpose is getting to know who you are beyond who you think you should be.
I love that. I love that you brought it up, and that was kind of where I was going when I asked you, like, how can we find what our, like you said, it's not that literally surfing is for everybody, but what's my surfing, or equivalent of
Yeah.
it. And what do you think it, because like sometimes we can be so on this one track, okay, like my work right now is something's missing, I want something better. What's the value of finding these different aspects, and maybe like you said, surfing or whatever the equivalent is not the money making, right?
Mm.
All income, like profession. But what's the value of exploring yourself fully and doing these things even though it might not be your 9 to 5?
Yeah, look, I think that we can get really confused in thinking that our the work that we do has to be our passion. And I think that we lose a really big opportunity here. I appreciate that I'm standing in a position where I am passionate about the things that I get to do for work, right? I also appreciate that I have to carve that. I have to create this job. Like this job didn't exist for me. I have to make it. And that's actually a really hard path to walk. If I just will, anybody who was thinking about going into business for themselves, I think that what we're not talking about is how hard that is because you have to hold lots of different tabs open at the same time. I'm on a podcast 1 minute, I'm recording content the next minute, I'm dealing with my finances the next minute, I'm having to do my accounting, my social media marketing. There's lots of hats that you have to wear as a solopreneur in the beginning. And not everybody wants to do that. And I
Mhm.
think that's okay. I think the value of finding passion in other things, hobbies, for example, is that you get to bring joy into your life. You get to connect in with you and separate this idea of money and passion.
Mhm.
Great if you can bring the two together, but if you don't know who you are yet, you're not going to find out what's your passion that may be able to make you money. And
Mhm.
also the conversation, I think it goes a little bit deeper than that too, because look, I don't know about you, but we live in this world currently that's like you got to make hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then if you're not, a six-figure earner, I mean, I work in the personal development arena, and so 6 and 7 figure earners, and that's the push and the drive, and it's this money's going to be the thing. I get it. We all need money. We need to pay the bills, But if we keep pushing of what's next and next and next and bigger and better, and we always have to go for the next thing, if we're attempting to keep up with the Joneses, we might be missing out. You could be amazing at making apple pie. You
Mhm.
could love making apple pie. And how do you not know that that you could make 40,000, 50,000, $60,000 a year on in making apple pies?
Yeah.
There's potential for that. You might now be currently on 120, 30, whatever, hundreds of thousands of dollars going, I could never possibly live that way. But what if making apple pie for 40 grand a year made you so freaking happy and fulfilled you that
Mhm.
you didn't need all the other noise? You didn't need such a big house. You didn't need all the toys. I'm not saying that we should settle. What I'm saying, Baber, is that we need to rethink our version of success here,
Mm.
because perhaps we could live on less.
Yeah.
Perhaps, and I'm not saying that you have to, we can still have abundance, but we have this idea that we need to maybe make it heaps of money in order to be happy, and I just don't think that it's true. I
Mhm.
think that if you live a fulfilling life, then that generally leads to more fulfilling opportunities in general. So discovering yourself, looking into yourself, setting those hobbies, even if you end up staying in your 9 to 5 job, you're a happier version of you. You're a
Yeah.
more enthusiastic version of you. You're a creative version of you. You're a courageous version of you. There's so much value in it.
I love what you're saying. Well, and I think it can be hard and confusing because you hear these slogans, do what you're passionate about, and
Mm,
you'll never work a day in your life, and then the opposite of it is this thought that you don't have to be passionate about what you do, that it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo,
mm,
so
mm,
it's very
mm.
confusing, right? And all these voices are
It
loud.
is.
Everybody has an opinion.
They do. And so
So
if I'd speak to that, that's why it's so important to tap into you. You
mm,
got to know what the voice is for you inside of yourself. What's true for you, what resonates for you. If you really do have a passion that you want to bring to life, then I encourage you to fulfill that. Listen to your voice. I am a voice. I speak from my opinion. I speak from I'm not the gospel, you're not the gospel. I'm only the gospel for me.
mhm.
And you're the gospel for you. Like, become your own guru, listen to podcasts, attend courses, hire coaches, read the books as a way to gather information, and then you distill it into what is truth for you. Find that, like, gather the information and distill it to your truth.
So tell us a little bit, I think it's a beautiful segue on, tell us a little bit about what it is that you are focused on and doing right now.
Yeah, yeah. So I just published my second book. So my
Amazing.
second book, Get Happy and Free, came out just at the end of May. And, that's about unlocking the happiness code. Because what I've seen in the world is that we're nexting our life away. We are moved, like, it's constantly the next thing. It's going to be the next 5 kilos, the next dollar amount, the next, partner. It's always, happiness is always one more step away. But as soon as you take that step and you get the thing, it's always one more step away. It's dangling a carrot in front of our faces that I feel just keeps us on this treadmill of, well, soon, soon, soon. And I want everybody to just stop and think for a moment. Right now, it's pretty likely that you're living a dream that you once thought was going to make you happy. Right now, you're living a reality that one day before you said, when I get there, when I have those kids, when I have that career, when I get that bonus, when I finally get that promotion, then I'll be happy. And yet you're not. And so the work that I'm really passionate about, if I will, is about helping people to understand that our happiness doesn't lie in what we have. It doesn't lie in the circumstances of our life. Circumstances of our life make things easier. It's not to say that we're not going to make any changes in our external life, but it's about really recognizing for ourselves that there is a place beyond our circumstances. Like, what if we were able to find happiness right now in this moment, in this part of our life, so that when and if the circumstances of our life change for the better or for the worse, because change is part of the deal of life, then we're still going to have this place of peace and joy within inside of ourselves. And then that permeates into everything that we do. So we become a passionate person in our work rather than our work being the thing that makes us passionate.
So where does our happiness come from or lie?
Yeah. Look, I want to clarify what I mean by happiness. When I talk about it in this context, I'm not talking about nothing ever going wrong. First, let me tell you what happiness isn't. It's not about always having a smile on your face. It's not about constantly seeing the bright side of life. It's not about never having negative emotions or negative experiences. The way that I like to describe happiness is think of it like an ocean. On the surface of the ocean, it changes all the time. Sometimes it's flat and calm, sometimes it's serene, sometimes it's a storm, sometimes there's tsunamis, sometimes there's big things going on. But the deeper you go in the ocean, the stiller it is.
Mhm.
It's quiet, it's dark, it's still. And to me, that is happiness, that there is the part of us that is deep within us that is unperturbed by what's happening on the surface of our lives. It's that peaceful part of us that we can trust that all is unfolding as it needs to, even if I don't like it. I think that's a thing, babe. Like, we often don't like the circumstances, right? Life doesn't always go to plan. And when we think that happiness is about having everything go to plan, we are forever at the mercy of something that is going to change, which means our happiness is also going to change. So, real, true, lasting, deep happiness, so what I talk about in the book, is about finding the place within inside of you that is deep and still so that it is unperturbed by the ocean and the circumstances of life that are happening on the surface.
I love that. I love that connection. And so how do we live from that place, connect to that place and live from that place more and more because we're triggered,
Mm,
right, every day.
yeah. And do you find, Baber, that we want to avoid our triggers?
Oh,
Do you think that
yeah, right?
that's
We wanna make our coffee, we wanna have our comforts, right?
yeah.
We want our little bubble. Yes. We want it to
Yeah.
be easy, and it's like a lot of this also narrative, it's ease and flow and,
And
and
that's great.
pajamas and comfy.
Yeah, and that there shouldn't be any hardness, that there shouldn't be anything that's difficult or uncomfortable. And I think that, we live in 2024 where no one's allowed to be uncomfortable. I'm triggered by that, or this isn't a safe space for me because I feel uncomfortable, or I'm offended by your words. I think that that's really to our detriment right now,
Mhm.
because the trigger is the way. The trigger is the pathway of how you reach that path of joy, the path of happiness, the path of true, like that stillness that we're referring to. Because if you think about it like this for a moment, we have all been given a blueprint. Like, as we come into Earth as a baby, we are being told constantly, especially in those first 7 years, what everything means. This is mum, this is dad, this is grandma, this is language, this is spoon. This is what money means, this is what you mean. There is an I, and there is a me, and there is an us, and there is our family, and there's other families. We are literally creating meaning on everything. We're creating a map of reality in those first 7 years,
Yeah, we're not even verbal, but also, like, observing and downloading everything, right?
aren't we? Yeah, from the environment. Like, we recognize what relationships are. Like, okay, this is how men are meant to be treated, or women are meant to be treated, simply by what we're observing.
Yep, making meaning, yeah.
We're making meaning on everything. So, but we're watching our entire environment figuring out what the world means. What most people don't do is ever do a stock take of that map. And so that blueprint of what the world means literally runs our life for the rest of our lives unless we do something about it.
Mhm.
And to me, when I see triggers are triggering that, what's known as a neural pathway. Think of it like a highway to a part of you that made meaning on something. Generally when we're triggered, it's comes with a whole bunch of memories, right? Like, it reminds us of a time when somebody mistreated us. It reminds us of that traumatic moment. It reminds us of something more than just what's happening in the moment. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's not conscious, but, like, obviously, there's some kind of pain being evoked that might be familiar.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mm. Yeah. And so we have this moment and we don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to go into that. So generally what we do is fight, flight, freeze, fawn, like we run away, we get aggressive, we shut down, we people please, we use whatever we did as a child to avoid the discomfort. Because if we think about it for a second, as children, when quote negative things happen, when unpleasant things happen, we can't leave.
Right.
We can't get out of the situation. As children, we don't have the power to be able to walk away or make different decisions. We are bound by our guardians,
Mhm.
right? So we have to cope in some way, shape, or form. So if our parents are fighting, we figure out a way to cope around that. So
Mm.
maybe we turn to music, maybe we turn to food, maybe we write, maybe we take off and ride our bikes, maybe we run away because we had to. We had to find a way to cope, and that's a maladaptive coping strategy. But fast forward into our adult years, we can leave now. We are now an adult, but our blueprint hasn't updated yet. We're running a operating system. We're running an iPhone 2 when we have an iPhone 13. Like we're running an OS that just does not serve us anymore. And the triggers are there to show us the traumas or the maladaptive coping strategies that need work, that need revisiting and remapping.
So we need to welcome them.
We need to
Act
welcome them.
like, actually feel the pain and feel all these, like, insecurities, the fears, everything that gets
Mm,
triggered, right, in that moment when a
yeah.
coworker says something, that frustrates you, makes you feel these insecurities or, whatever
Mm.
the situation. It's almost like I'm taking this class and the teaches to when you are in that moment of reactiveness to say, pause and say, "What a pleasure."
Oh,
That's
oh,
that good.
how juicy.
I know, right? But that doesn't mean, to your point, even with the happiness, doesn't mean that it feels good.
No.
But it's an opportunity for us to take in the light and heal and start healing those moments and kind of all of those. I think we don't really even realize fully, kind of, we might have, okay, yes, I grew up with these parents, right? Okay, I saw this dysfunction, that dysfunction, I was hurt in these ways. But it's like, how do we start to actually change, to transform that
Mm,
blueprint?
yeah. You know what? You saying that moment of like, oh, what a pleasure. What a pleasure that I'm getting this very uncomfortable emotion. Like, let's not sugarcoat it. It sucks.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
no one likes it. Can I just let everybody know no one likes it? We don't like being triggered. It's not fun. Even, I'm well experienced. I've been facing these triggers and traumas for a long time in my life, and I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like the experience, right? In the same way that sometimes I don't like lifting the weight, but in order for me to get my guns, I need to have resistance. Resistance needs to go on that muscle. I need to lift heavy things repeatedly in order to build muscle. It's the same thing. And I have a strong belief that we need to become the person that we didn't have as a child. So,
Mhm.
irrelevant of whether or not your childhood you perceive it to be happy or whatever. I know some people are resistant of, no, my parents loved me. I appreciate them. If your parents loved you and they showed that to you, rock on. I can pretty well guarantee you that they did not have the emotional capability to be able to hold you in your moments of need when you were a child. I
Mhm.
can pretty much that guarantee for every single person. We
Mhm.
did not have conscious parents who were able to hold us without their ego being present in the moments that we really needed them. So we need to become that. So when we're triggered by the coworker who said the cruel thing to us, think about what version of you is coming up in that moment. We've all been in an argument, right? Where we've been with maybe a partner or a loved one and you go, "Oh my god, they are 12 right now." Like you've been able to see in the other person. That's a 6-year-old standing in front of me. We can see that. Can we see that in ourselves?
Mhm,
Oh, okay, that hurt, and I'm reacting to right now is not just the mean thing that the worker said. It's those girls that were mean to me when I was 11.
mhm.
And that 11-year-old didn't get the support, didn't get the healing that she needed at the time. So now this is your opportunity to give to her what you needed at that time.
It evokes, like you said, whether it was girls or whether it was, like, a parent that you were afraid of, and you literally can people come back into different scenarios and mirror that, and you're, like, reverting into that six-year-old and feel just as helpless or intimidated
Yeah.
or scared. So you're saying we need to become who we needed at
Yeah.
that point of time?
Yeah. So we can repeat. So when we get triggered, generally what happens is we're repeating the same thing. It's pretty likely that if just say your parents didn't show up to your football games, netball games, whatever it was, they didn't come up to your sports and you made that mean as a child that they didn't love you or that you weren't important.
Right.
And now when your partner does the same thing to you, you feel unworthy, you feel worthless. It makes you feel that way, right? You can repeat. When the trigger comes up, you can repeat or you can evolve. And the repetition is going to keep you stuck. It's why people, "Well, I just feel stuck." If we want to move beyond the patterning, if we want to move beyond and actually live a life that's full of happiness, true lasting happiness, if we want to actually live a full authentic life, we need to choose to evolve. And the way that we evolve in that moment, ask yourself the question, just say you were 11 at the time, right? What did my 11-year-old need to hear? What did my 11-year-old need to see? What did my 11-year-old need to feel in that time that she didn't get then? And now I'm going to be that for her. So I show up for the parts of me. I show up for my 11-year-old. I show up for my 4-year-old. I show up for my 16-year-old, 25-year-old, 39-year-old. I'm 40. I show up for yesterday me, who was maybe, didn't get the love that she needed. Can we show up for the versions of us that weren't supported by the environment
Mhm.
and be the person that we needed at the time? That's how healing occurs.
I love that. I love that. And how do we do that? Is it like, do we talk to ourselves? Say, you are important and there.
Mm.
Like, is it like, yeah, how do we do that?
Yeah, look, I think that I spoke to that before. Yes, to talk to ourselves. Ask yourself, like if you genuinely had a 6-year-old in front of you whose feelings were hurt, rather than make it about you in that time, I would encourage you rather than, "They're there, it's gonna be okay, you're all right." The 6-year-old's like, "I feel dismissed. I
Mhm.
feel dismissed, I feel abandoned, I feel rejected." How often as an adult, when we have the feelings, are we dismissing the feelings, abandoning ourselves and rejecting ourselves? No, no, no. I'm spiritual. I don't want to feel that way. Or I'm doing personal development, so it's not okay for me to feel anger. It's not okay for me to feel jealousy. We dismiss ourselves the same way that maybe our caregivers did when we were children. So rather than go in and we assume what we need, let's ask ourselves, "Hello, little one. I hear you. I'm here with you." And this is literally what I might say. And I encourage everybody to repeat back, right? "Hi, little one. I know that I'm not great at being there for you. And I know that many people have let you down, including me. I know that you maybe don't want to talk to me, but I'm making a commitment to show up for you, that when you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen. What do you need from me right now?"
I
And you
love that.
wait. And this is not a you do it once. I really want to drive home for everybody. You're in a long term relationship with you that you cannot divorce from. There is no other relationship like the one you have with you. You can't leave you. You can try, you can scroll, you can shop, you can drink, you can smoke, you can eat, you can do all the things that you want to try to avoid you, but wherever you go, there you are.
Mm.
You're rebuilding a beautiful relationship with yourself. That is how you connect. You show up for yourself in the way that they needed, those parts of you needed, not because you decide how. It's not me imposing onto my 6-year-old what I think she should have. It's me asking the 6-year-old what she needs. And she might say, "I want ice cream for breakfast." Right? You need to give me ice cream for breakfast. This is not about giving that part of us all of the things. It's about taking care. It's about taking responsibility for us. Cool. What would the ice cream give you? We're literally coaching ourselves. What would the ice cream give you? Well, I would feel safe. If she wants ice cream for breakfast, she wants ice cream because she wants to feel comfortable and she wants to feel safe. Great. Now it's my job to say, how do I help you to feel comfortable and safe?
Mm. And isn't it also a lot like that's why I love you when you loved when you said it's not just a one-time thing, it's about them feeling those feelings of hurt and the
Mm,
pain and the discomfort. And I think I saw in one of your reels on Instagram where you talked about the transformation. And I think I'd love to communicate like why is this work important? Because this is all the road to all the things, the fulfillment, the happiness, the abundance, all the health,
mm,
all the goodness
mm,
in life that we are looking for. And I saw this um beautiful, also real, by David Guillaume, and he where he said that the creator wants to give you everything. And it's like, but can you believe it?
yeah.
And that's like kind of also tying in a little bit pieces that what you were talking about before, like the passion, the job, like the type of work or the money. I think this is like why it's important to do the work you're talking about, this
Mm,
underlying foundational work, is because that fulfillment, that aliveness, that spark
mm.
inside of you is on the other side of that.
It really is. It's on the other side of the discomfort that you're not willing to face right now.
Yeah.
People think, well, if I just get the right job, it's going to fix it.
Mm.
And look, I hate to break it to you, it won't. Like it won't because the issue, so to speak, is beyond that. It's so beyond that. It's about you want to feel alive, you want to thrive, you want to flourish in your life, you want to be able to be all of you and your most authentic self. You want to be able to show up with passion and grace and be in your big self, right?
Yeah.
I call it your big self. It's your higher self. If you want to live in your higher self, you got to bring your lower self up to speed. And your lower self is your conditioned self, your ego, your mind, the part of you that's triggered, the part of you that's stuck in the past. That part of you needs to be raised. I wholeheartedly believe we're raising our inner child, children, teenagers. We're raising its consciousness so it can return to wholeness so we can flourish in life.
I love that. I love how you,
Mm,
because like going back to kind of the reel I mentioned, the seeing on your Instagram was that you were talking about the transformation. I mean, this is part of that transformation work, and that the transformation is not necessarily easy, because if it was, everybody would be doing it.
right.
Other side.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes there can be this, I don't know, misconception of, well, why would the creator, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, whatever feels right for you and resonates with you, why would God make it so hard? Right? Why would the creator make it so hard for me to go? Why wouldn't it just be easy? And the thing is because think about things in your life that come really easy to you. It doesn't actually fulfill us. Things that just fall into our laps, we tend to take for granted. It's part of the human conditioning.
Yep.
And Miley Cyrus says it really beautifully in her song The Climb. There's always going to be another mountain. You're always going to want to make it move. There's always going to be an uphill battle, and sometimes you're going to have to lose. It ain't about how fast you get there. It ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb, because we are becoming the person. We are building our character. If the whole world is a stage and we are the actor and the director and the writer, then our character needs to be developed in order for us to become the things. If you want to be an artist, you want to be a performer, you want to build a business, you want to write a book, you want to learn to surf. I need to become that, and my character needs to be built.
Mm,
And we need to overcome challenges in order to build character, because unless we're overcoming the challenges, we don't get the lessons. Success is a very poor teacher. So if we can address life
mhm,
as character building,
mm,
crafting the character that is building us to get to the moment where we can achieve the thing that we really want to do, then that changes the whole concept of this play of life. We're not trying to get over to the mountain. We're not trying to get to the top of the mountain. We're discovering what the climb's like and who we become in the process.
I love that. I love the analogies you're using. And totally, because I mean, like just to even simplify in a day-to-day scenario, right? When you work and you know you did your all, you know you did your best, there's a totally different sense of how you feel inside than if you whatever, dilly-dally the day away, had your
Mhm.
coffee, you stretched it out, and then there was lunch, you don't feel inside of you, like nobody else might know, right? Nobody else might be keeping tabs on you minute by minute, but
Mm.
you know how you showed up that day, and there's a totally different internal feeling of
And
satisfaction.
people, yeah, satisfaction, as you say, like it's really satisfied to do a hard job.
Mhm.
Like when you do it, when you do something that's difficult and you're able to overcome it and persist, particularly over a long period of time, if you're determined, like that, what that builds inside of you, the self-esteem, the confidence, the resilience, the power, the strength. Oh, I mean, that's what people really want. I just think people are wanting the outcome without prepared to do the work. they
Right,
they
'cause
want
it's
the
like
strong muscles. They want the good body, but they're not willing to go to the gym.
yeah, so, like, the answer, like, when people look for strengthening their self-esteem or confidence, there you go. That is actually the path, right? It's like no mantra will help you. Like, no, like until you show up and earn, whatever is that next level, the next
Mm,
thing, what you really want and go for it. And in the surf example, it's actually doing it, right? Not just dreaming about surfing one day, not just dreaming about having your garden or maybe being like an interior, house decorator or whatever, but actually then acting on that passion, right? And exploring
mm,
it. And then
mm.
tangibly, you will know whether it's for you or not
Yeah.
by trying.
And recognizing, yeah, to even expand even more on what you're saying, it's exactly right. If you want to be fulfilled and have strong self-esteem, do hard things.
Do hard things.
Do hard things. Do the uncomfortable work of facing your emotions. Like do hard things. When you do hard things repeatedly, you become strong. and and you feel unstoppable. I've been teaching myself. There's two other hobbies that I have
Okay.
that I have no intention of ever making me any money, and one of those is piano, and the other one is Spanish.
Well,
So I've been teaching myself piano for yeah, 5 years now. Five
okay.
years learning the piano, and Spanish for about 3.5, 4 years. And I show up to both those practices every single day. And
Right.
sometimes it's just for 10 minutes. My minimum requirement for piano is 10 minutes, my minimum commitment. I don't aim for half an hour. I'm not aiming for an hour because I know that I won't do it. I know that my life's going to get busy, but I can always find 10 minutes.
I love that. I
And
love that.
that over a long period of time, it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to learn a language. It's a hard thing to learn an instrument. But you know what? The time's going to go anyway. I'm now 5 years into learning the piano. I'm pretty all right. Imagine
Yeah,
what another 5 years is going to be. Another 10 years. The time's going to go anyway. And my Spanish speaking ability is pretty decent. It's pretty
amazing.
good. I can have relatively good conversations in Spanish, simply by just showing up for 10 minutes a day over the last 4 years.
Amazing. So tell us a little
People
bit
are in a
more
rush.
about your journey of how you got to being a speaker, an author, a coach. Like, what has been your professional journey?
Yeah. I think that I can't speak to my professional journey without speaking to my personal one, because my professional journey is the result of my personal one.
Yeah.
And I speak about it in my first book, Perfectly Imperfect. I hated myself. When we talk about the reason I know this so well is because it's an intimate experience for me. I had all the self doubt. I was trying to be someone else all the time. I didn't like who I was. I showed up really confident on the outside. I was a fake it till you make it kind of person. Like, I was just had a really good sense of a mask. I was really good at pretending that I was happy and good lucky and yeah, right, all that kind of stuff. And yet on the inside, I didn't like who I was. And I didn't follow through on things, and I wasn't particularly committed. I dreamt of a different life. I dreamt of having a body that was healthy and fit and strong. I dreamt of having autonomy in my world. I dreamt of maybe, back then it was being famous. I dreamt of all these things, but I wasn't willing to put any of the work in around it. And so I was, I had substance abuse issues. I had lots of self harm. I had an eating disorder. And at the end of 2000, it must have been 2009, 2009, 2010, I was just like, I want to pursue something. So I found coaching. And, you know, we're talking 14, 15 years ago now, where I started my coaching business. And ever since then, there's been I've been working on my craft and my brand ever since then. But I
Wow.
reckon that, 5, 6 years, 7 years before that, I got into personal development and I started to go, hang on a second, maybe this blueprint, it's not what it was called then, but, maybe the beliefs that I have around myself aren't true. Maybe the thoughts that I'm telling myself aren't accurate. And I started to unravel it all. And it's been deeply painful. In 2011, my brother, who was only 19 months older than me, died. He died of a brain tumor. And that moment was a catalyst of such huge change for me. I couldn't be more grateful for that experience in my life, and I know that, you know, he's happy that it went the way that it did too. Pretty stoked with that, because it made me, babe, question, what am I living for? Who am I living for?
Mm.
I might not get old. He didn't. He was 28.
Wow.
And now that I'm 40, it's like I've got 12 years on that guy. And like, it could go at any point in time, and that didn't scare me. That compelled me to go, like, screw this. I don't want to keep living this way. And it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been fast by any means. By any means. The eating disorder, the self-harm, the moving into self-love. Like, I really had to unpick and unpack all of the parts of me that have held me back over my life, and I continue to do so.
So that
And that's informed in my work.
mm.
It continues to inform in my work as time goes on. So I did a lot of confidence and body confidence coaching in the beginning. That's what I did because that's where I was at, and I taught people how to love themselves for a long time. Um, and then I just keep walking the path. I keep showing up, and the universe keeps leading me to serve others with the wisdom that I've been gifted with.
So you kind of, like you said, you have used your own journey. Your work has been informed by your own journey and kind of what you're going through, and then you help others
Mhm.
going through similar situations. And how did you like? And I'm so sorry about your brother. And so that was kind of
Thank
like
you.
one of these like experiences that shakes you up,
Mm,
right?
mm,
That wakes you up to what is this all about?
yeah.
That you have to do something that's actually authentic and meaningful. So
Mm,
let's say if somebody's right in kind of going through motions, right? They have some sort of right the career job, but they're not feeling fulfilled. They're kind of like living a groundhog day. Something's missing,
mm,
but they're not quite
mm.
sure what's missing and what pivot to make, what to do. Um, what would you say would be your guidance?
Yeah. There's 2 things that come through for me, and I'm gonna say them in one. Get help to go within. Get help to go within, and what I mean by that is that take a guide with you because it can be really challenging. If you've got the financial resources to be able to take a guide with you, I highly recommend that you do. Take a guide with you to unpack and unpeel who you are. What do you believe in? What are your values? You can do this yourself. Don't get me wrong. I never disempower anybody to say you have to work with a coach. I just think it really helps. I just think you can tap into wisdom that they have and they can see things that you can't. Go within.
Mm,
Really find for you what is that lights you up, because you might actually find that you could really love the work that you're doing if only you had more connection in that role. And maybe you're not connecting with people in that role because you have a fear of rejection. And that fear of rejection came from that time, or those moments and memories as children, as a child, when rejection really led you to losing love. So now you close down and you stop connection. You could already be in a job that fulfills you, but you haven't yet tapped into the fact that maybe you're not leaning in.
mhm,
Go within. Go within and find the answers. Ask yourself, what do you stand for? What are my values? What's important to me? What do I believe in? Who am I when no one's looking? Who do I want to be when no one's looking? When the world's eyes aren't on you, that's who you really are. Do you step over the rubbish or do you pick it up
mm,
when you're out and about? You know, do you open the door for that person? Do you say thank you to the waiter? Do you clean up after yourself? Do you scrub your poo stains off the toilet in a public toilet if there's a brush? What kind of person are you? Right? I know, right? But these are the things when no one's looking, when no one's checking, when no one's making sure that you're doing it, who are you? And that's can be a big, tough question, which is why I recommend that you, if you can, take a guide and go within.
how much do you think of the dissatisfaction and this emptiness feeling and this feeling like something is missing is do you think is stemming from the fact that we know we're not doing everything we can. We know we are not living up
Mm.
to the potential. We know we're not doing those hard things that you were talking about.
Yeah. Oh, it's just done something to me, favor that question. Like, how much of the dissatisfaction is because we truly know that if we were honest with ourselves, we're playing small? I think
Like when we
heaps.
meet somebody, we're on our best behavior. When we start a new job, we're going
Mhm,
all in, right? We are working. But then when we get to the in whatever relationship or work or we get to this point where we think we have
mm,
it, and then we start slowly backing
mm,
off, getting very
mm.
comfort to the doing starting to do, like, the minimum necessary, right?
Yeah, yeah. I've never really seen it that way, and you've just triggered something in me massively. Like, I say triggered in a beautiful way, like you've awakened something in me. Um, it's something's just fallen into place of my own life of how like, I never respected myself. I didn't respect myself particularly. I didn't value myself. I thought that I was unworthy, and now that I think about it, I know who I am when no one's watching. I show up to the things. No one told me to stick, like, had to have the discipline to show up to do the hard things. No one's made me do that at all. And the fact that I have, done those things when I was just looking down here, I've got my 2 books in front of me and, um, yeah, show them only because, like, there's the tangible big things, right? Like, I wrote every single one of those words, and when I look at it, thank you. When I look at this manifestations, it's like, you know what that is? That's commitment. That's dedication. That's showing up when no one tells me to. There's no publisher, there's no someone breathing down my neck. I don't have a boss, I'm the boss. So, no one's telling me to do any of these things. So I need to show up for me. And the fact that I have these results, as in a couple of books, Spanish, piano, that kind of shape my bodies in the health that I have, the relationships that I have, all of that is a result of me showing up for me repeatedly over a long period of time. And that's why I respect myself.
It's not easy.
It's because it's not easy. And I think in business, that's what I say. It's not for everyone. I think to speak to your question, how much of it is that we know that we could be doing better, that we're not. There's a fine line there though, because for someone who grew up berating themselves, I would beat myself up like, when is enough good enough?
Mhm.
Like, it's never enough, it's never enough. There's this feeling of inadequacy that would go. It's not what we do, it's why we do it. And for a long time, when it came to my physical health, if I would eat right and move my body because I thought that if I got skinny, then I'd be worthy.
Mhm.
So I was doing all the same things that I do now in my life. I eat well and I move my body, but the why is very different. I do it now because I value me and I want to look after my body. I'm not doing it to get value, I'm doing it to give value to myself. I'm doing it because I value myself.
How
So
did you
that
change it?
shifted.
How did you make the shift?
Yeah. That again, go within. Go within and learn about myself, unpack the beliefs that weren't true. And this is over a period of time, don't get me wrong, like, unpack the beliefs, question the beliefs, like, doubt my doubts. You've got to doubt your doubts. You've got to look into your belief systems that are holding you back. That map of reality we were talking about before, that blueprint, that has to change. That had to change for me. That blueprint I have been crafting, reworking, remapping for 20 years. And that's why I can deliver it so concisely now, and why people work with me if you wanna come on board with me as a coach, is because it doesn't have to take you 20 years. You're still gonna have to put the work in, but someone like me, someone like you, a coach, a mentor, can guide you into getting to the core of those beliefs really quickly, changing them and giving new ones so that you are built differently than what you were before, from
Mm.
the inside out.
And because I think in general, right, many people will know, okay, well, like I grew up with um like the fear of abandonment, or like
Mm,
my parents will, so now I'm kind of like I have this fear come up, or this insecurity, right, triggered, or I, grew up with the belief I have to work hard, or money doesn't grow on trees, or people are not trustworthy, or they will betray me, right? So in general, or like that I beat myself up, or I'm not good enough. But then the whole like, okay, we know, or let's say, the listener knows I have this some, this empowering belief, or this is what my parents modeled, right? Or I heard them say or model, and show me. But it's like, just because
mm.
how do you change it?
Yeah. You know what I'd love? I often get my clients to do this. I literally say, "Cool, let's go with it. So you believe that you are not enough, is that right?" And they'll say, "Yep, I believe that I'm not enough." Okay, cool. Prove it to me. Like, if we're in a court of law right now, I want you to have irrefutable evidence that you are not enough. And generally what happens, they're like, "Oh, easy. Easy, easy, easy." And they'll tell me all these reasons. They'll tell me that um, they'll tell me that they're overweight, or they tell me that they don't pick up the rubbish on the side of the road. They'll tell me, that they keep going for partners that don't align with them, et cetera, et cetera. They'll give me all these reasons why. And I say, and how do those things mean that you're not enough? Like, I want you to prove it. You've given me anecdotal examples. You haven't given me factual examples of how that proves that you are not enough. You've made meaning that because you don't pick up rubbish, for example, then that's you're not enough. But can you prove that? And when we put those beliefs under hard scrutiny, they will not live up to it. They can't,
Mhm.
because even this thing. So I'm gonna do it to you. I'm gonna use you as a guinea pig right here live, Baber, and I have not prepared this whatsoever. So I'm gonna ask you,
Mhm.
uh, if there was a baby is born, is that baby enough?
Yes.
Yep. Is there any baby that's ever been born that wasn't born worthy or enough?
I don't think so.
No. Do you think it's possible for any baby to be born unworthy?
I don't believe so.
No, right? Okay, cool. And so at what point does the baby stop being worthy? Like, when actually, not believes that they're unworthy or told that they're unworthy, but when does the baby actually stop being unworthy?
Never.
Okay. So is that true for everyone, or do you think that's true for everyone? Is that all babies?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you once a baby?
Yes.
Okay. So are you just the exception to the rule? Is there 9 billion people on the planet and you're the only one that fails to meet that standard? Or were you, in fact, a baby who never grew out of their worthiness? They were just told that they were unworthy.
That's right.
Cool. So what you saw that I just did there is we literally put it under scrutiny. I'm not here to toxically positive think. I'm really not one to sit there and go, you just need to believe it and it happens and will yourself into it. It's not, it does not work. Positive thinking, toxic positivity is not about just having mantras that you don't believe. I did it for years. It's fake it till you make it. I don't believe it works. What does work is scrutinize the belief. And
Mm,
all I need as a coach, all I'm looking for when I'm working one on one with someone or in groups, is I just need a crack.
mm,
I just need you to doubt that belief that you thought was 100% solid. I have a client that I'm thinking of right now. She this is many years ago, and she was like, "No, Luna, you don't understand. I'm unworthy." Okay, well, you're okay. Cool. Prove it to me then. If you want to fight to defend your limit here, prove it. I want to know on certain terms, and she can't. And so at the end of that conversation that we had many years ago, and I still work with her today, she says to me, maybe there's some possibility that perhaps I'm not 100% a piece of shit. Cool. That's all we needed. Literally. And her and I look back on the relationship, and she's now been sober for 5 years. She's following her dreams. Doesn't mean her life is not hard, going through divorce and a whole bunch of stuff. But that crack in that, what she thought was a fundamental belief, is enough to let the air out of it, because now we've created doubt in a belief that you were so certain of, and now the whole world can crumble around that, because if you had a belief that you were unworthy, that's informed every single thing that you've done in your life. Well, if that wasn't true,
mm,
it's gonna impact everything else. So we just need to plant a seed of doubt in that belief, and
mm.
you do that by scrutinizing it. And you know what? For the audience, message me. Like, literally send me a voice message if you have a belief that you think that you can prove to me that is true about your unworthiness, about your not enoughness. Let's do it. I'm up for the challenge. Like message me, let's have a conversation, and let's see whether or not you can prove it in no uncertain terms
I
that
love
that is 100% factual, not anecdotal, not the meaning that you've placed on it, but factual, proved in a court of law beyond reasonable doubt. I can guarantee you that you can't.
I love that. I love the challenge, and I have not heard this approach. I love it.
Cool.
Thank you for sharing it, and it's
Pleasure.
when you talk about kind of that creating that crack. just a little bit, and it's like it just reminded me today, like I got triggered by something, and that crack like, and I was like the pain that it invoked, like the feelings that it brought up was literally, I was thinking it's like that crack where the light can shine in. So, and it's just like now you're talking about, mm, yeah, it's just like we need just like these good, right? These good openings.
Yeah.
We can let go of all this crap and let more of the
Mhm.
goodness in. And then
Yeah.
that is truly the way to transformation. And can you talk a little bit just about in another video that I saw you on was about how our mind wants to keep us comfortable, right? In the
Safe.
safety zone. And
Mhm.
how is that also standing in the way of us reaching, right, our dreams and everything that we
Mm.
desire, whether it's in work and in life overall?
Yeah. So I talk a lot about this autopilot part of us. I say it otherwise known as the mind, otherwise known as the ego, otherwise known as unconscious, the map we've been talking about, the blueprint. It's all automatic. It's been built in that first 7 years, predominantly, reinforced over the next 7 years, like 7 to 14. But this has become your autopilot, right? And that autopilot has been it's your default. And what I often say is that your mind's job is to keep you safe, not to make you happy. And the reason for that is that this is this autopilot part of us, the small part of us that literally is primed for survival.
Repeat, you said our mind's job is not to keep us happy, but to keep us safe. But our
Correct.
soul, that bigger, that higher self, is really, we are longing for happiness and fulfillment. So we're kind of, but then
Uh-huh.
there's this big mechanism working against it, like to keep us in
Against us.
there. Okay, sorry, like keep going.
Correct. No, that's perfect. You're exactly right. So we have this small self, this egoic mind, the autopilot, unconscious. As I said, I call it lots of different things. That part of us is our blueprint. Its job is to keep us safe. Our higher self, our wisdom, if we would, our soul, whatever we want to call it, our source energy knows that there's more for us. What's happened in evolution in our lives is that for the vast majority of humans, our ego is the one that's in charge. Our autopilot, our mind's in charge. So imagine you're trying to run a company with a CEO who's freaking out about everything all the time, who doesn't want to take any risks, who just wants to keep the status quo. Your company's not going to function very well. So we need to change the leadership. And this ego part of us who wants to keep us safe, just literally think about survival. Millions of, or, hundreds of thousands of years ago, we needed to keep ourselves safe. And the reason why humans are so amazing and we have developed so far ahead of maybe other animals in the animal kingdom is that we have this ability to look at the past, analyze it, and that prepares us for the future. We're literally able to go, hang on a second. If we go down to the watering hole when the sun is at that height, there's a lion there that's going to eat it. It happened, Billy died that last week doing it that way. So we learned not to go to the watering hole at that time of day, right? And so we've learned how to adapt to our environment. That fear response of, oh, maybe it's danger over there, that's kept us alive really, really well. But that mechanism that served us to this point in our time will not serve us in the next evolution of us. We still need fear, we still need that mechanism, but we don't need it to be in charge. Because it being in charge, we don't have saber-toothed tigers anymore. For the most part of the people listening here, we're safe, right? There's lots of people who aren't safe in the world. I get that. But if you're tuning into this podcast and you have the luxury of an hour and a half to hang out with us, it's pretty likely that you've got safety of some description. Instead of us worrying about the lion at the watering hole, we're worried about the colleague at work who's going to tear us down. We're worried about whether or not you think badly of me. We're worried, the fear response is about the uncertainty around the world. So all that our mind wants us to do is to stay safe in our bubble. even if it's an uncomfortable one, even if we don't like it, even if it's not the best circumstances, we would prefer that because we know it. It's familiar. It doesn't want you to stretch outside. It doesn't want you to do that. So it's going to fight against you. The big place where people go with this is that people think, well, I need to get rid of the ego. But hear me loud and clear. You cannot reject yourself into wholeness. You
That's what
cannot
they say.
reject yourself into wholeness. Your ego, like your little self, your little girl we were talking about before, same thing. It needs raising. It needs a leader. That unconscious part of you needs to bring consciousness to it. Hello, fear. I can hear you. I know you're just trying to keep me safe. I want you to know that no matter what happens, we're going to be okay, even if it doesn't look it. I will take care of you, even if things go to shit. Like we need to reassure our fear. So we, as the soul, the wisdom, is the one that's in charge of our CEO, not the freaking out ego part of us, the mind that just wants to keep us safe.
We cannot reject ourselves
Into
into.
wholeness,
That's beautiful.
which means we need to accept all parts of us. It doesn't mean all parts of us need to lead.
Mhm.
What it does mean is that all parts of us need to be welcomed.
Mm.
Otherwise, they're just going to keep being rejected and they'll keep showing their heads until they get the love that they need from you.
Now you started to preach.
Amen, sister.
That
Amen.
was awesome. That was amazing. I felt it. Um, is there anything that I didn't ask that you'd like to share?
Anything that you didn't ask that I would like to share? I can only assume you're going to help people guide to where they can find me if they're curious about coaching with me. They you can go to my website lunariagaia.com, follow me on the socials. I presume that's all going to be in the show notes.
Yeah, yeah, and I was
Look,
going to ask you, yeah, how can people connect with you, follow you, and obviously the two books that you have is one is Get Happy and Free
mhm,
is the latest book, and
that's the
then
latest book.
the
Yeah.
previous Perfectly Imperfect.
Well done. Perfectly imperfect. Yeah. So book 1 is about learning how to love yourself and love your body. Highly recommend it.
Mm.
For that reason, if you're in a place where you're like, I don't really like who I am, and Get Happy and Free is about overcoming that conditioned mind, how to stop being reactive, how to move from that autopilot into your, you know, manual. If we think about auto, we're in automatic. We want to move into manual so we're in charge rather than having let something else lead us. So I don't think you've missed any questions that I'd love for you to ask me about. It's been an enriching, beautiful, flavoursome conversation and a joy to be here. I hope that your listeners here have tuned in and have lots of, mind-blowing moments, cracked open moments. And I sincerely hope that everyone who's tuned in here today has gotten something really powerful out of this conversation. Thank you for hosting.
Thank you, Lunaria. It's been a beautiful, beautiful heart and soul touching conversation. I really appreciate your time and that you came and spoke to us. And I really encourage everyone to get your books and check out your work. And yes, they are definitely going to be linked in the show notes. So thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.